Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Level Humanity podcast. I have Doğakan Toka here. Welcome, Doğakan.
Hello, Nevsha. It's my pleasure to be here.
How have you been? All good?
All good. It has been a hectic week. Last week I was at CES in Vegas, and now this week I'm paying the debts.
I would love to. I would love to learn about how the experience was. And for everybody who's listening and watching us, I met with Doğakan almost a month ago in Austin. And we had a deep conversation about investments and VC world and startups. And I invited him to my podcast because I know he has a brilliant way of looking at the sectors, looking at different sectors, and also working with founders. The VC he has founded name is BridgeX, which is all about bridging between founders and capital and ideas and execution. So my first question to you will be, Doğakan, what early experiences shaped your instinct to connect rather than divide and to build BridgeX VC?
That instinct, I think, came true from a lived experience, like going back to my childhood. Throughout my adult years, I have operated in different countries, cultures, disciplines throughout my life. And when I was 18 years old, I pressed pause to my education, headed to Beijing, China, to learn Chinese and start an international trading company with a goofy business card. Maybe in another conversation, ask me about bruised ego and failure. And after that, during my undergrad education, I have put myself into circumstances that are vastly uncomfortable. I worked, lived, or studied in Berlin, London, Istanbul, and Madrid during my undergrad years for 4 years. And then I became a management consultant. I did consulting for 10 years with an exposure of different cultures, countries, people, executives, and functions. And then I became to Berkeley. And at Berkeley, I was the president of Berkeley Entrepreneurs Association. And the first thing that I was thinking was connecting Berkeley and Stanford as a bridge. Because these two ecosystems have its own characteristics, but 1 plus 1 might be 20. That's the perspective. But today as an entrepreneur or an investor, what I do, connecting capital, talent, opportunities in line with growth and innovation in the world in which we operate today. But at core, I am driven by solving puzzles and problems, the kind of puzzles in which that are not linear and revolves around what you said, revolves around building bridges.
Yeah, and I think I can say you like challenges and you like challenging yourself, and because I did meet you, you have a strong character and you have a strong mindset. Have you been always operating from that strength, dedication, strength, and have you always been someone who is asking for challenge?
So, well, it takes me back to my childhood years. I'm coming from a family heritage of doctors, and my fait accompli is keeping that heritage moving forward. I'm the apple fall away from the tree. That's the challenge. So that's a challenging conversation I had to make with my family, and manifested in ways me genuinely enjoying uncertainty, uncomfortable situations, and I learn more as I go through. So I'm not proactively looking for challenges, but I find myself in those situations. And going back, when I identify problems, I would like to solve it in my own ways. And going back, I lived 2 different lives. And as your husband I'm from Mersin originally, small town of Mediterranean region. I was in a private school, but over the summer time, I was spending in village for 3 months with my grandmother. So these different types of disciplines, cultures, I think I became comfortable with uncertainty. That ends up with challenges to be solved.
Yeah. And when you look back to your childhood, to your maybe teenage years afterwards, when you started working and also traveling around the world and staying and working in different environments, different cities around the world, do you remember any specific moments in life that prepared you for this responsibility of making judgmental calls that affect other people's futures? Because I think being a VC, being an investor is a huge responsibility because we are literally affecting other people's futures. Has there been any defining moments for you?
The judgment calls that affect other people's futures are held by the individuals themselves. My job is to decide whether I am going to be a partner, accountable partner or not. So I think I wouldn't say I'm affecting other people's futures. Decision is whether to be an accountable partner within their journeys, within their decisions or not. My job is not to be 100%
Aligning with their judgment calls.
exactly. Understanding their judgment calls, understanding their intentions, understanding their incentives. The call on my end, am I going to be your partner or not? Their futures held by themselves. My job is not to be 100% all the time, but my job is to be accountable and responsible for the decisions I take for my partners and be consistent with the values and principles that I have nurtured throughout my life, which is my authentic self. I need to be true to that authentic self in order to be comfortable with uncertainty. So what I have learned, what I have realized till now is a kind of a pattern recognition with humility and connecting opportunities with the right partners is how I see it. Partnership is a key word I will underline with a black or not black, but a red highlight in this perspective.
Yeah, you talk a lot about partnership and stewardship, and instead of opportunity. Of course, opportunities are very important, but also being one with them and supporting them. So right now, what personal values guide you in the world of venture capital?
I think VC is what I do. It's a medium of my personal values. It is just a function. Those personal values goes way back throughout my life that has been nurtured, tested, refined, and I'm still refining those things. But as an example, where are they coming from is a question that I was asking myself. Again, I'm coming from a small town, and one of the things when you are living in a small town, it's a city, but it's smaller than what you would think of, is behaving people as if you will see them for the rest of your life. Because it's true. In that village, you will see the same people over and over again, and you need to be reliable in order to have those relationships. So that is one of those key core value generator for me. Like, make sure that you interact with people as if you will see them for the rest of your life. That comes with integrity.
That's a great culture, by the way.
That comes with good intentions. That comes with accountable and responsibility. Do as you say as you do. And VC is a medium. Again, like VC is one of the functions that I try at least to manifest myself within the job that I do. And that's one of the main reasons that I started my fund versus joining an up and running fund that has been there for the last 30 years. I would like to challenge myself with my way of doing business, my way of doing VC in this net new generation of venture capital.
Yeah, it's beautiful, because I think right now most LPs and investors like me, like myself, we need that reliable, trusted individual, because at the end of the day, there are also some people who are listening to these podcasts for just self-mastery, to learn about how they can grow and expand in all areas of life. And as you say, I think it's very important. It's all about, even business is all about self-mastery. It is about who you are in the world, what you present, what you stand for. And then business and all areas of life, I think, is a reflection of that. So I think you're very much and obviously stating that and very much reflecting that into the business world. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I would like to add one more thing as you bring one thing really important. It is about the partnership, it's about the stewardship, but VC as it is also, to me, it is a customer service. It's a service, creating value by helping others move forward. And you have two customers. And you think from a service perspective, it's not deploying capital, it is a service. There is one customer of yours is founders. So make sure that you are servicing your customers like founders well, in line with their needs. And the other customer you have is your investors, LPs. In line with your fiduciary duty, you are serving them. So when you think of VC as a customer service, given the fact that you have two major customers, it goes back to that stewardship and service type of value, especially within that function.
Yes. And for that reason, and also in general, acting from our truth, authenticity, I think makes the whole difference in relationships and in business. You are investing in early stage, and usually early stage investment requires a lot of clarity without uncertainty. So there is this uncertainty, and also you need some clarity. How do you build conviction when information is incomplete and there is all this uncertainty? How do you decide? How do you get clear? What are the parameters of your decision process?
By nature, early stage investment are defined by with uncertainty. It's a stage where the data is scarce, like there's a scarcity of data. So it goes back to different sophisticated.
No data.
There is no data. That's one. If you ask this question to 100 VCs, you will see, they will come up with the answers combination of people, team, product, business models, A, B, C, D, E, F. The analogy that I would use is for our end, at BridgeX Ventures, captain and the crew, ship, or let's say vehicle, and ocean. Captain and the crew is the team, ship is the product, and the ocean, or like let's say vehicle, the ocean is the market. What we are optimizing for is captain and the crew and the ocean, if their underlying assumptions are right. Because one of the things that we have said, like what becomes clear over time to me is, it is the team. Regardless of that product, they are likely to iterate that product in line with the reactions that they will have over time. So the question becomes, is this the team? Is this the captain and the crew can disrupt that ocean, that market? So on our end, it is people oriented and market oriented. If the underlying assumptions of this company holds, what can they disrupt is the ocean. So to your answers, what we are optimizing for is captain and the crew and the oceans that they are sailing, pursuing. Uncertainty, you have to embrace that. If you look, let's say, top 10 unicorns, or that is top 20, 50 unicorns, and look their early stages, from a people, product, business model, market, maturity, all those things. You can just check maybe 2 bucks of it. Your job is, 1, identifying these risks. 2, as a good VC, if there's any way for you to de-risk your investment, add value to that company, making sure those are the resources that you can mobilize for those companies. Your job is not to come up with 100% obvious companies which are not the home runs. The home runs are mostly the ones that not everyone has a conviction on. So your conviction is yourself, coming from your authenticity, the way you are looking at things, and then the other piece is embracing that uncertainty and identifying the risks that can be de-risked, maybe.
And in your experience, what patterns have you noticed in founders who successfully bridge their vision and execution? Because a vision is something, but it's all about execution, and it's all about the founder's talent to execute. Also, there, of course, but there are other things as well, finding talent and all that. What patterns have you noticed generally in founders who are successful?
I was thinking a quote from La Karenina. Like, the happy families are alike, the unhappy families have different ways of them being unhappy. So one of the things I will say is about the founders is, even though like the innovation, like technology is changing, internet, smart devices, IoT, cloud, today AI, and there are a lot different ways for founders to become successful. I have seen like a bunch of numerous ways, like really good executors, deal makers, salespeople who are builders. But the foundational blocks have never changed. Like going back to 100 years ago, entrepreneurs who have been successful, today entrepreneurs who have been successful. The foundational layers are persistency, consistency, determination. All those hard work, those pillars are the same, but the way that they are doing is different. The way that they are doing is different. What I'm trying to say is some of them are really good deal makers. Like they are good at deal makers and they are complementing themselves with builders. Apple is a great example. Steve Jobs is a visionary, product visionary, deal maker, marketing personality, combining himself with Steve Wozniak, who is a builder. That's a great company. There are some of the founders are really hard to like disagree. They are not agreeable at all. But does it mean that the successful founders needs to be disagreeable? No. That's their own ways to do that. But underlying functions of successful founders are not changing. Consistency, determination, persistence, resilience, those are not changing. I don't recall a case that a successful company became unicorn or more than that. They have seen a bankruptcy in one side, the time of T. And the question becomes, do you have resilience enough to move forward in those bad times? Those are the same. So our job is to make sure, not make sure, but at least have hypothesis around, okay, this is
who you are when you are challenged.
do you have it or not?
Yeah.
As a founder, at the end of the day, the one pager might be perfect, competent, know the market, great product, great market. All those things are our job to make sure that we identify those. And the second question, like last question, is like, do you have it or not?
And do you believe you intuitively know when you look at a founder, when you listen to them, when you hear their vision, and also look at the business plan? Do you think you can intuitively kind of like know who is going to
Nishant,
make
this is a great question. And this is a question that I think you touched from a different perspective, from a chakra or instinct perspective, feminine chakra perspective. But let me twist this story. I'm an engineer by education. I believe in numbers. I reverse engineer equations, come up with nonlinear equations. When I was like exploring VC maybe 10 years ago, one of the answers that I was receiving from the top tier VCs was like, we know, like gut instinct. I was like saying like, bullshit. Like, what do you mean by gut instincts? There should be variables that you can quantify. And those variables can be used as a proxy. And it's right. You can have a thesis, which I do have, UC Berkeley and Stanford, for a reason that I'm focusing on these ones. This is a
Yeah.
pool of
Yeah.
people. So I can increase my chance. However, like now it becomes more clear what they mean by you would know when you see a A+ fund. So this is one of those areas I am practicing as well, opening those intuitions, instincts while making decisions, because I think we know behind. So it is not, we cannot rely on that, but after we do the work, our heart can tell us like move forward or not. Sometimes we need to learn how to open up those intuitive instincts, our gut instincts, and because sometimes we know more than we comprehend or articulate or justify. So we should combine that two of those. We should do
Yes.
our work in a way that is analytics based, based on our thesis. But when the rubber comes to the road, you need to open up that intuition, because looking back, I have seen those examples. You somehow know as long as you do the job well, which means if you have done your groundwork, you are aware of those risks, identify all the prospective companies and founders, making a decision, you should combine those intuitive subconscious of yourself.
Yeah. And I think in an early stage, especially early stage investors, I'm also an early stage investor, intuition is very much important. And that also I think comes from kind of like our wisdom, if we have, towards humans, like understanding humans and knowing, I think from also our own journey, like us challenging ourselves, to being able to go through challenges and know what clarity looks like and know what dedication looks like, because some people have it. Some people are highly dedicated, they're highly resourceful. You see it in their eyes, you
Yeah.
see it in their being, in their energy. They have this dedication, and like they're speaking their truth, very aligned. And I call those people self-master, like masters, and also next level humanity. I think next level humans, because we most of the jobs will literally be replaced by AI and robots. I think next level humans who are still working in the future and creating and building will be the ones who are highly resilient, who are highly truthful, who are highly aligned with themselves and centered. And I think that's felt. If you're coming from the same background, that is very much felt. And with all these said, what has
May I double down on what you said?
Yeah.
You said
Okay,
something
please
really
go on.
resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is
Yes.
one of the other key of a great founder. And I think when you touched, alluded on AI, it's another area. Like throughout the history, innovation, growth, faces with resistance, we know who the winner is. Innovation and growth always wins. So the
Yeah.
question becomes, how are you going to reposition yourself in line with the world that we are operating today? And that is a good way to maybe a segue for AI, which might be interesting, but please go ahead. Resourcefulness
Yeah.
is a key word for us founder, like making sure that they are able to mobilize the resources, talent, functions, capitals around them in order to get things done.
The name Bridge VC, BridgeX VC, suggests also international connection. And what gap in the ecosystem are you aiming to address through your platform? Because you have a specific way of investing and you have a specific strategy.
Well, taking one step back, venture capital is capitalizing asymmetries that you do have. It is an asymmetric job, relationship and asymmetric job. So on our end, the equation that we are solving is one, connecting two leading ecosystems in the world that are leading and pioneering the technology. UC Berkeley and Stanford. So that is our thesis that we are investing in, because these are the resources that we do have access to. I would like to invest into, let's say, Harvard, MIT, but I don't have asymmetric ties within these ecosystems. So first, focusing on the ecosystems that you do have asymmetry. The second, I do believe, I hold conviction that there is no substitute of Silicon Valley. There is no substitute of Bay Area when it comes to entrepreneurship. Internet, cloud, smart devices has been led. And today AI has been led from these ecosystems as well. Like OpenAI, Databricks, Perplexity, all are coming from the same hubs and labs. So BridgeX Ventures is connecting these two ecosystems, and these two opportunities within these two ecosystems with outsiders. So the bridge comes from the other regions of the world, connecting opportunities with their resources.
Yeah.
Middle East, Eastern Europe, Turkey. So that part of the world has a lot of resources. This part of the world has a lot of opportunities. So the equation that we are solving, 1 + 1 might be 20, with the combination of capital, talent, business development opportunities, other skill sets and functions of the world. That's where BridgeX is coming from. There are two bridges, Bay Area, these two ecosystems, and the other bridge is Bay Area and, let's say, Istanbul. Istanbul is a great bridge way to connect the other part of the world with the opportunities that we do have today. We are investing into early stage startups, I would say AI winners at their formation for B2B enterprise solutions. The reason I'm investing into B2B enterprise solutions, that I have done that at usual suspects at Bay Area for 10 years during my consulting years. So that's an area that I can resonate. That's an area that I can connect the dots with my thesis. So overall, investing where we know, with the people who trust us.
Yeah, great. And what impact do you hope BridgeX VC has on regions, communities, industries?
Exactly the word, bridging the opportunities here that we are sitting on top of with the other part of the world. And it is already manifesting.
Combining our forces.
Combining forces, combining different variables and functions of the world to come up with a nonlinear equation. Amplifying these resources and the opportunities with these connections. Going back to what you said, the world that we are living today revolves around bridging, not creating things from scratch. It is an orchestration of different skill sets, different functions, different strengths in order to come up with that 1 + 1 + 1 might be 100 versus 3. So that's what we are solving for.
Orchestrating is a great word. By orchestrating, I think we win. By orchestrating all of the resources. And you also spoke about Istanbul. And as NEVCAP, we are but we are right now working on a role which will also help Turkey's and Istanbul's tech ecosystem and support Istanbul's and Turkey's ecosystem. And I have been working with the government's investment office, and also right now there are a lot of things happening in Istanbul and growing. So what I would like to personally learn your ideas about, because you're in Silicon Valley and you have a lot of experience, and you're also going around in states. Right now there is a big shift in supporting founders and also supporting projects and companies in Turkey and Istanbul, and the government and also the tech communities would like to see Istanbul as a technology hub, because where Istanbul is located as well, because it's kind of like the bridge between East and West. So how do you see the Istanbul ecosystem? What's happening in Istanbul right now? What do you think? Because some people told me like it's where Berlin was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. It can be a hub. It will be a hub in 10 years. And what do you think? What's your ideas?
So Istanbul, let's go back to what Istanbul means from a talent perspective. And let's go back to our heritage. I think we, like our community, let's say Turks or people within that soil, are engineers and entrepreneurs by default. They know how to pursue with being blind. And when we look at that engineering part, that is one of the parts that we should be cognizant of. We do have a lot of, in that area, in our country, we do have I hold conviction on our youth. They will be much better than the previous generations, given the globalization that they can live today,
Yes.
wherever they are. So our talent, we are great engineers. I do have a company,
Builders, yes.
builders, relying on Turkish engineers because we are really good at that. So let's be cognizant of that. We know how to create. Second question is what you said around bridge. So how are we going to capture what we have created is an area that I think we should be playing proactive role. There's let's look at the verticals that has been working successfully in our ecosystem, gaming. And the reason is you create the value and day one, you can capture that value globally. Like you can connect that with anyone in the world.
Yes.
It is working. And we are actually like shining star in the world in gaming for 20 years. So
gaming.
we know how to create. And when it becomes like connecting, when we have those distribution channels, it is working. So let's make sure that we are cognizant of our talent. Our talent is to create.
Yeah, knowing your talents, knowing your
Yes, your strength, your talent, being cognizant of those. And then the question becomes, what is the part of the equations that we need to complement this with? I would say business development and fundraising.
Yes.
We are needing to be better on those areas. We are not like entrepreneurs. We know how to solve problems. When it becomes sales, when it becomes fundraising, those are the areas that requires complementary skill sets from the other part of the world, or you as the people you are like yourself being a leader to connect those dots. I believe in our youth. I believe in our heritage. I believe in our entrepreneurial skill set, which is surviving. Like we have been surviving for last 2000 years in that soil with uncertainty. Those are the key foundational skill sets. And it's not a surprise when you look at the unicorns, reverse engineer 1,400 unicorns, you will see 55% of their immigrants. Because that's a core skill. They know how to navigate when they are an immigrant. By default, they know how to survive. And that's the core skill for a successful startup or company. So your question, yes, I do believe in it. I do work like in my, not nonprofit, but in my job, I'm connecting these dots with investors, entrepreneurs, hubs, accelerators in Turkey and in Istanbul. And connecting these dots would end up with success stories. And that's
good. What do you think Istanbul needs? The companies over there and founders, what do you think they need? What's the one or two things they need? Is it
capital?
Funding, capital.
It is capital. Like, okay, if you're a good founder, you know how to build a company, regardless of where you live. There are two main components of a flying wheel, which I can connect back to Silicon Valley in a second. Funds raising and business development. Those are the areas that you need to mobilize people. Silicon Valley, 60-70% of venture capital sits in Silicon Valley. 90% of Fortune 500 companies, I'm going to make it up, like I need to check the numbers, but let's say most of the biggest tech companies that you are going to sell is in Silicon Valley, in Bay Area, which means business development is there, funding is there. When you connect those two with talent, now there's a flying wheel. It's hard to substitute. That has been tried. Yeah. Austin, New York, Miami. No, this is a flying wheel. So same thing from a longevity perspective. Yeah. Gaming is working because that created that type of flying wheel. Now the ex-founders of unicorns creating their own startups, they are getting funding and they are able to create more value. So the question for Istanbul becomes, what are the shortcomings? I would say capital is one of them. Might be a leadership question that we need to ask talk with our government, because investors all around the world are likely to have product risks, team risks, market risks, not country risks. So let's make sure that we minimize those country risks for investors, early stage investors. And the other ones are regulations. Let's make it easy to make sure that investment into early stage startups are this, as it is in Silicon Valley. I can go hold the list. Like that might be a different conversation. What we should
different conversation for another day.
Even the question is a great question. Like what we need is a good question to start that conversation.
Yes.
And I'm aware of that you are leading that. I'm doing my part on my end, connecting with universities, with the accelerators, hubs over there, in order to pursue. Because, Nevşah, I don't think it is a nice to have. It is a must have. Having a community with a flying wheel, investors, entrepreneurs, business developers working together for a long-term success instead of ad hoc here and there success plans.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And also having the international connections and all that. Yeah. So let's come to some personal questions, as we have around 10 more minutes left. How do you define real value beyond everything in the business world, beyond exits, multiples, headlines? What's real value?
That's a great question. What becomes clear to me is those exits are important. Okay, let's be honest first. Those exits, those moments is important. Exits measure moments, and those moments are important for longevity. Venture capital without liquidation is charity. For longevity and sustainability, you make sure that your customers are getting their money back. So those are important. When you say real value, what I would add on top of it is real value compounds through people over time, which goes back to those relationships, community. Sustainability and longevity is two words that I would say real value. Instead of like once, what is that equation flying real? Those are the things that we have used. What does it look for next 30 years with the people and the communities that is working in line with the foundational guiding principles, but agile moving forward? To your question, real value, I think, compounds with these hubs and community and real people. Because our job is about people. Even though we think it's about technology is going to change in the next 5 years.
Down to people.
Yeah, exactly. And that is one of those areas. AI, I mean, I'm a technologist. So whenever I think of AI, what it's bringing to our lives, I always think about the opportunities it's bringing rather than what we are going to lose. So that people, relationship, community perspective cannot be substituted because it is by default human. So to your question, what matters most to me, I think community, people that we are doing it. At the end of this game, I would say our lives, looking back and say, God, it was a hell of a ride with the people that we have gone through. And maybe an analogy would be that rainbow. Like you start the rainbow, there's a golden like case at the end of it. It is not the rainbow. It is not that golden case. It is whom you have been with throughout this journey.
All the experiences.
Go back to those, like your question, I think what really matters is the communities, people that we are working and sharing our time, energy with those exits. Those exits are the...
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, all the exits and wealth management and creating legacies, I think that's what we are after, especially people in the investment world. It is about, I think there's a deeper spiritual meaning about wealth building, which I, usually talk about, and I even wrote a book on it, just explaining how the word wealth, well-being and health, and also the well in that well-being is the deep well. It's an inner wealth. So I think true wealthy people, or at least the wealthy people, not rich, but wealthy, because there's a difference. And there's a whole book about it I wrote, but true wealthy people have understood what wealth truly means. It is very different than being rich. And what's impressive is I hear a lot of people who think, money and investment and the investment world and all of this, anything to do with money and investments, might be something shallow, but actually it's the opposite. When I, speak with VCs, speak with investors, I have a lot of friends, true friends in the investment world. They are the deeply, highly spiritual individuals. I would even say a couple of them are the most spiritual individuals I have ever met. So wealth building actually I think, has a deeper spiritual perspective to it, because if you don't sincerely care about the world, humans, you don't bother. If you're not a visionary, if you're not here to sincerely help people, you just don't care about, supporting other businesses or other humans. And that's like, so it's kind of like this building wealth, the investment world. We have, I think, a deeper spiritual responsibility, which most people don't talk about, but I think we all know about. It's kind of like deep responsibility towards humanity as well, because we're here to help humans at the end of the day.
Absolutely agree with that. What if you care without the means? What are you going to do in order to make a change? Versus when you have the means and have a good heart, now you can drive a change. Maybe with capital, maybe with your influence. So Without you being a light, how are you going to shine for other people is a good question. There are other ways, of course, being an activist, being like a social.
Yeah.
I don't demote any of these, but I think having an influence and capital is one of the significant ways to bring good for the world in line with your strengths.
Yeah, and money without meaning is just very hollow.
Transactional and hello and yeah.
And money with meaning is true wealth. It's like it's true mastery. It's something else, of course. So especially in moments of uncertainty, when you in business, in life, do you have any principles you follow that guide your decisions, or in life whenever you lose balance, what do you do? Do you pause? Do you unplug? What do you do?
I think that's most of the time. Like we don't lose our journey or track, but it is like uncertainty is there all the time. So on those moments, one of the things that I'm relying on is the clarity of intent. Not what I do, but why I do what I do. So I'm trying to go back to those foundations, going back to these things that we had discussed about. Am I serving for the people who has been a partner of me? Well, going back, is my intent are in line with what I have been nurturing so far? So those core foundational principles are coming when you take a pause. Like when you're running around with external noise, like a lot of externalities, you should be, I think one of the things that we should be cognizant, taking one step back and going back to those like first principles, I would say. First principles is am I clear with my intent? Am I being my authentic self while I'm doing this? Uncertainty, I embrace that. Uncertainty is not something that I'm uncomfortable with. Uncertainty is something that I'm looking for in a way that, because uncertainty means the equation hasn't been set yet, which means I have a lot more opportunities. So uncertainty I embrace, but when it comes to those moments, what guide our decisions or they guide our actions, the first principles that we have already discussed at the earlier part of this conversation. Clarity of intent is something that I double down, and why I do what I do is another one. Why I do what I do is another one.
Thank you. It has been a great conversation. I enjoyed every moment of it, and I'm sure everyone who's listening and watching us on YouTube are also enjoying. And I have one last question, finally. If you could leave one message for founders navigating this, fragile or early stages of building or starting their journey brand new, what would that be?
Okay, I think, first of all, thank you.
You can be unapologetically open and
so
authentic.
I would say, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It has been a pleasant conversation with you as always. For founders, I'm pretty sure that they have been listening a lot of podcasts. Do this, be consistent, don't give up, keep the ball rolling, all those things. So I think they already know most of the things that has been said. What I would say from another end is, make sure that you take care of your health, mindfulness, like physical health, mindfulness, and your loved ones in this journey. This is something sometimes we lose the track of it, but there are times life is teaching us what matters, what doesn't matter. It matters. You should take your job seriously, work hard, do anything that you should in order to get there with your partners. But my message is going to be more around take care of your physical self. You need it for the rest of your life. Make sure that you are taking care of your mental health. And the third one is your community, friends and loved ones. Those are important pillars. When you have a success, those are the things that you can celebrate with. So this might be out of a founder, entrepreneurship, startup related suggestion or advice. I am sure that they have been reading a lot of books saying that, okay, these are the things, but let me put that one as well as an addition.
Yeah, I mean, and this is kind of like a self-mastery quote as well for founders, because it's all about what you're talking is all about what I usually say, staying grounded, staying in our roots. Because if you want to go far, you have to have strong roots. When you look at, for example, when you look at trees, the trees who are rooted well, they can grow bigger. But the trees who don't have roots, it's impossible for them to grow, because with any kind of damage or any challenge, they just can't tear that apart, and the tree just falls and dies. So it's all about how big you're gonna grow your business, your life, your wealth depends on how rooted you are. And having those roots is very important. And those roots come from taking care of yourself, taking care of your family, your loved ones. And I remember one of my teachers, early teachers, telling a story about him. He was interviewing a man, a very successful businessman who just turned 110 or something, and he's highly successful, a billionaire, created multiple businesses, now very old. And he asked him, like, what's the formula for success? And he was like, love your family, work hard. And then he was like, okay, what's the third one? And he was like, love your family, work hard. So he kept on, 110 years old businessman, highly successful, kept on telling, work hard, love your family, work hard, love your family. And that family is, your loved ones, your friends and family and children. And having those roots, I think, is very important for success. So I fully agree.
Grounded power. Love it. Love your
Yeah.
family. So let's end it with love your family.
Love your family, work hard.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to everyone who's listening and watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
My pleasure. Have a great one.